All right, everybody, good afternoon. This one is a little bit weird, right? He's got a resume that I think is fairly respectable. He's been around a while, and he comes from a tree that I think is credible. But here's the thing, this guy just got fired. Now, he might have been fired in the Pete Carroll way, he might have been fired in the Brian Schottenheimer way, but he did actually get fired at the end of the day by the Cleveland Browns. We're talking about Alex Van Pelt, and it would be kind of weird if you have an offensive coordinator slash quarterback coach get fired and then you hire them as your head coach. If the guy got fired as an offensive coordinator, if you're going to hire him, it should probably be as an offensive coordinator or something even beneath that. So I don't know about Alex Van Pelt, but I think he's a fairly interesting name that we should at least spend a little bit of time talking about. This is a guy with a real resume. This is a guy who's done some very interesting work lately. I'm not going to act like it's amazing. And obviously, he's under Stefanski, who is brilliant. But Alex Van Pelt, he's hopefully picked up something from the last few years, right? He's been the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach for the last 4 years for the Browns. So he's overseen two playoff Browns teams, including one playoff win. And while Stefanski obviously is the big ball holder when it comes to the offense in Cleveland, Van Pelt's doing something, and it's been pretty good, all things considered. This year it was top 10 in scoring, although it was bottom 5 in EPA. So that's a product of their defense being so incredibly good. They could score points even when their offense wasn't good. But look what he had to work with. Look what he had to deal with. Nick Chubb got hurt early in the season. His quarterbacks kept getting hurt over and over and over again. They had 5 different quarterbacks start a game for them in 2023. So honestly, the fact that they were able to do as well as they did with their situation being what it was, I think was very impressive. The year before that, that was the Jacoby Brissett, Deshaun Watson year. They had a about average offense, maybe even a little bit better than that, which is impressive. Count me as somebody who looks at something like 2022 with Brissett and Watson and goes, hey, that guy must be doing a pretty decent job. 2021, that was the Baker Mayfield playing through an injury year, and the offense was a little below average, shall we say, not bad. So again, holding it up. He does have good stuff to work with, like Chubb, like that offensive line, but it's not bad results for a team that still doesn't have a quarterback. In 2020, when Baker actually played really well, the offense was straight up good, top 10 in EPA, upper half in points, so pretty good. And again, I just want to highlight here, he was working with Baker Mayfield the first 2 seasons, Jacoby Brissett and Deshaun Watson in 2022. And then in 2023, it was a combination of Deshaun Watson, PJ Walker, Joe Flacco off the couch, Dorian Thompson Robinson, and I think there was one other guy who made one of the starts. So he's had as messy of a quarterback situation as there is. And Cleveland's offense has been in scoring about average over the last 4 seasons. So I look at that and I go, either Stefanski is the man or Van Pelt is the man, or they're both the man. But somebody's doing something really right here. There are teams out there that have had very stable quarterback situations over the last 4 years, like the Chargers. And I don't know if the Chargers' offensive rankings are as good as this, honestly. I'd have to look it up. But I'd be willing to bet it's probably pretty comparable. Think about that. This guy is getting about as much out of this quarterback crew, this quarterback collection, as the Chargers have gotten out of Justin Herbert. All right, so in the 2 years prior to his stint with the Browns, he was a Bengals quarterback coach for Andy Dalton. This was end days Andy Dalton. This was right at the end, 2018, 2019. So it wasn't good Dalton, but he was also kind of washed up at this point. His completion percentage trickled down, his QB rating trickled down, his efficiency trickled down, just everything kind of headed south. There was a time when Andy Dalton put up MVP caliber numbers, but 2018 and 2019 were not those years. So I'm not really holding it against him. He got out of town when they brought in Joe Burrow. And yeah, he didn't really have a quarterback to work with there. And Dalton was still a semi competent game manager, I guess. So that's what he did in Cincinnati. And then he, before then, was a Green Bay Packers quarterback coach for a few years, so he's part of that kind of Mike McCarthy tree if you go back to the origin of his coaching career. And obviously, when you're the quarterback coach in Green Bay, your job is mostly easy because you're working with Aaron Rodgers, one of the most talented quarterbacks ever, probably the most talented quarterback ever, and one of the most productive quarterbacks of all time. So you've got 3 seasons of Aaron Rodgers setting the world on fire, incredibly high QB rating, completion percentage. 1 year it dipped a little bit, 2015. A lot of touchdowns, not a lot of interceptions, a lot of yards. The 1 year Aaron Rodgers got hurt, his main backup was Brett Hundley, who did not play well at all. So the one opportunity that Van Pelt had to show that he could do something outside of just having Aaron Rodgers to lean on, it didn't happen. And Brett Hundley's not a good quarterback, obviously, but wasn't really able to squeeze anything out of that. Maybe there's something to be said about what he's learned over the last half decade, because he was able to get a lot more out of Jacoby Brissett in 2022. Just one way to maybe think about things. Before Green Bay, well, excuse me, before he was the quarterback coach in Green Bay, he was their running back coach. And you could give him some credit for developing Eddie Lacy into a quality running back in the NFL. When he got there, the Green Bay backfield was one of the worst in the league. They had a three-headed monster, and monster in this case is definitely a pejorative because it was awful, of Alex Green, who averaged 3.4 yards a carry, James Starks, who averaged 3.6 yards a carry, and Cedric Benson, who averaged 3.5 yards a carry. But in 2023, things got a lot better. Eddie Lacy came along, became a pretty decent bell cow back. James Starks became a much more efficient back as a backup, kind of a, I wouldn't call him a third down back because he wasn't really a pass catcher, but he became much more efficient as a change of pace back behind Eddie Lacy. So he did some pretty good work as the running back coach in Green Bay. And yeah, that's not a bad mark in the ledger for his resume. Before then, however, he was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback coach, and things didn't go very well here. He, in 2010, got great football out of Josh Freeman. Josh Freeman looked like a franchise quarterback. High QB rating, a lot of touchdowns, very few picks, a lot of yards. He looked good. Josh Freeman looked like he was going to be something. And then in 2011, the bottom completely fell out. He sucked. He was awful. He regressed way back to even before his rookie year. And before long, he was completely forgot about. So while Van Pelt did a good job getting Freeman on track, he ended up derailing almost immediately after, so not much to say there. Before then, offensive coordinator and quarterback coach for a Buffalo Bills offense that was really bad in 2009. So the further back we go, the less we find to get excited about for sure. The Bills offense in 2009 was one of the worst, 28th in the league. He had Ryan Fitzpatrick, who did not have a very good season, even by the standards of 2009 football. Trent Edwards, also not a good season, even by the standards of 2009 football. Year before that, he was just the quarterback coach, and the main guy he worked with in 2008 was Trent Edwards, who played a little bit better than he did in 2009, I guess. But again, that's another guy that he failed to really develop into anything. Trent Edwards was, I believe, a third-round pick at one point. So there was some expectation for him, and it didn't pan out. 2 years prior to that, he was the offensive quality control coach, 06-07, for a really, really bad offense and a pretty bad offense in 2007 and 2006. And that's the resume, man. That's it. So we're definitely not working with a lot to get excited about in the back area of this resume. Like the early years are bad. But I'm seeing some stuff here that I do like. I think he did a good job in Cleveland. And if you believe any of that knowledge from Stefanski might have imparted itself over to Van Pelt, then maybe this is one of the gambles worth taking. Let me know what you think down below. See you guys later. Go Hawks.